Well, Mark, thank you so much for setting time aside with us to be on our podcast. And this is really an extraordinarily special moment. I've talked about 29029 in many of our episodes and the impact it had on my life. And I've shared that the idea of this podcast was born on the side of a mountain in Vermont in snowy weather and 31 hours of all this. So I'm excited to have you here and to share your story of this authentic representation of you as a man, as a husband, as a father, and really where the origin of this incredible event came to bear, and why so many special things happen on the side of a mountain over a 36-hour window. So thanks for setting some time aside. Really looking forward to this conversation and really diving deep on this extraordinary experience that was very changing in the trajectory of my life for sure, and many others.
Well, thanks so much for having me. It's deeply humbling. And, whenever I hear these stories about, people connecting with themselves or launching something like your podcast, or just starting to scratch the surface of what they believe is possible through an event that Jesse and I have curated, it's just unbelievably humbling. And I'm unbelievably grateful to be here and to have this shared experience through 29 to 29 with you.
Yeah, and one of the things I think was really special for me to understand about you and Jesse specifically is that this event really ties down to some core values, that this is an authentic representation of both of you in different ways. One of the things I was really curious about is, like, how does 29 reflect Mark? Like, what is it about you that makes 29029 like a little piece of you as a person, as a man, as a father?
Well, it initially came from ideas that Jesse, my business partner Jesse Itzler, and I had around vertical feet and challenge yourself and putting something really big on a calendar. What's bigger than an Everest size goal, right? So that was a natural expression of my kind of curiosity around endurance and what people could do over a long period of time. But over the years, it's become much more an expression of myself in terms of, I just care a lot. Jesse and I decided very early on that we were going to care the most. And, my wife's probably the most caring person that I know. My eldest son is unbelievably caring. And I think they've both rubbed off on me a lot. I mean, I'm definitely a person that cares just about others, about them having great experiences, and the ripple effect and the kind of the halo effect that when you do an event like this, that you may not even know the people you impact when you tackle something like this. And for me, in the last year, it's really been owning that through and through, going through a year like last year where, all of our events were sold out, and then we had to postpone all three of our events. And I deeply hurt for those that weren't going to be on the mountain. And it's hard to share with others that I was hurting too, and not financially, but emotionally, that we weren't giving this experience to people that we really wanted to give them. And that, those are three of the best weekends of my year. My kids are there. My wife is there. Some of these former participants come that are part of a broader family. So I think really leaning and showing that vulnerability of, how disappointed we were, but how much it was going to make a reunion when we get together on the mountain this year even better. And really just going through and through with what I feel about the event and the people that are drawn to our event. I really come to understand and appreciate that I shouldn't hold anything back. And that if I do, I'm not being true to myself or the event. And if it's not right for you, then that's okay. We can't be everything to everyone. There's people who want to win races, and there's people who want to get age group awards, and there's fabulous events that I would highly recommend you go and do. It just is not part of what we do at 29 and 29.
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting element that really flips something like this on its head, where you have 36 hours to hike up this mountain, depends on where you are, 17, 14 times, I think. Until you hike 29,029 vertical feet, or what used to be the height of Mount Everest. I think they've recategorized. I think there's been 2 more feet added, but I can assure you this: I didn't go straight up the thing. I don't think I took the most efficient route every time, so I think I probably added a few feet. But what I think so extraordinary, and I'm curious where this was born out of. There are no winners. There is no time clock. And the fact, what flips on its head is that the person that often is celebrated is the person who spends, 35 hours and 59 minutes to get to, like, where did that idea that instead of celebrating the winner, but the idea of celebrating the person who leaves it all on the side of the mountain, even if they come up short, but the person who puts everything out there, like where did that idea of celebrating the person who goes all in versus the person who was the fastest that particular day?
Well, when you get into the world of ultra endurance sports, there's really only a few people that are actually competing to win, right? And the rest are competing to finish. When you're in half marathons and marathons, people are very time oriented. There are specific goals. You and I were chatting about, Boston, right?
Yes.
And marathon times. Time is important in shorter distances. I was a collegiate miler. It was about getting as close as you could to the 4-minute mile and then everything. When you get in the ultra endurance world, my first true really big ultra was the Leadville 100 trail run. And, it took me 27 hours. Now, if I trained for the next year nonstop for that race, I could probably go back and run 23 to 24 hours. But to a lot of people, it's less impressive if I do it faster, right? It's just, there's this weird continuum where at some point it changes to where it's more impressive than if I told you I did it in 19 hours, because you don't have a reference point and be like, wow, 27 hours, it's so hard.